Hey, folks, welcome back to the Land Fixer podcast. I am your host, as usual, Logan Swanson, and I am joined with the one, the only, Jessey Kwong. How are you?
I'm doing good, Logan. How are you
Hey,
doing?
great to have you on. Very excited for this one. Folks, as usual, if you need funding for your land deals, go to landpartnerfunding.com. If you're looking to buy land, go to primelandexchange.com. And if you have land and you want to work with somebody who can help you subdivide it, entitle it, add value to it, or simply market it and sell it for you, you can reach out to me at thelandfixer@gmail.com. I'm happy to work with you. But today, Jessey with Pebble REI, he has put together what I would classify as the best land investor CRM out there. And it is no small feat to put something like this together. He has his own podcast. What's your podcast again, Jessey?
Yep, it's the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast.
Boom. And it's on all the platforms, I'm assuming.
Yeah, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever.
That's right. I've been lucky enough to be a guest one time. But you grilled me on that one. I get to grill you on this one. Now, this is a little bit of a sidestep for us because usually we're talking all things land, and this is land related. But I'm opening a coffee shop. I've had my own digital services, and it's not easy. So I always take the opportunity to talk to somebody who has actually been successful over an extended period of time with a service like this, because in land, I'm always preaching like there's riches and niches, and you have built a very niche CRM. So, can you tell us a little bit about maybe your early concepts, how you got into it, and
Sure.
then I'll just keep asking you questions from there.
You know what, Logan, first, before I start, that's a lot of pressure that you put on me. And the other thing is, a lot of people really appreciated you coming on to our podcast to talk about, what you're doing outside of land. At the end of the day, we're all sort of creative entrepreneurs here doing all sorts of stuff. And I got like some messages back that it was just really eye-opening for somebody to just share about the other projects they're working on outside of land. So, anyways, that's sort of how I kind of stumbled upon building what Pebble is today.
Hey, folks. So sorry to interrupt this amazing podcast. What a wonderful host you have so far. But I want to bring you our sponsor for today. Today, we are talking about Pebble, REI.com. My good friend Jessey Kwong has been really making something special over there. Okay, so if you're a land investor, you've done a few deals, you've proven that it works to yourself, and you're kind of stuck trying to use spreadsheets or making some sort of complicated system of Zapier and other CRMs to try to create a hodgepodge and make everything fit together in your business. You don't got to do that anymore. Pebble is built for serious land investors. It's got a fully integrated phone system so you can call and text. It's got your marketing management tools so you can launch and track your campaigns easily. A full property data system. That's right. You don't need to have a whole different software for your leads and get them all the way organized into contracts. There's also built-in due diligence tools so you can pull your neighbor data records, property details, floodplains, all that sort of stuff built right in. And folks, guess what? AI agents have been announced and they are coming this year. If you're using AI powered assistants, you'll be able to automate key parts of your business using this. If your systems aren't centralized, you're going to have a real hard time doing that. So now's the time to streamline everything into Pebble. So you're going to be ahead of the game instead of scrambling to catch up. Now, folks, I got an exclusive offer for you. You know I do. If you go to pebblerei.com/the land fixer, you're going to get a $50 credit so you can hop in there, do some mailers, pull some data, send out contracts, whatever you need to do. Again, that is pebblerei.com/the land fixer. Check it out. You're going to love it.
When I first started, just like everybody else, did an online course type of thing. And then I remember it was like the Sunday I heard about it, and like I didn't even get through the entire thing. It was my good friend Seth Williams, and he was just telling me about land. And then I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, I'm in Canada. You can't do anything like this. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to go and send some mailers and I'll deal with the rest afterwards. I had a friend who was trying it with me at that time, and we sent some mailers. In fact, I still keep it on my desk. It's this one right here. It's just this ugly postcard, and like I hand doodled on it, and I did all sorts of stuff on it, and it landed me like 500 of these things landed me like 3 deals, and I was like, what? I sent it out in Bend, Oregon, and yeah, landed these 1 acre landlocked properties for a few $100 pop, and then flipped them like a couple of weeks. I remember I listed it on Marketplace and I screamed down to my wife. I was on the toilet. I was like, somebody's actually messaging me about this. They want to go camp on the property. I just listed it that morning. And then like by the time I got to the gym, I was getting ready to go to the gym, and then like 3 people had already messaged me, and they're like, "Hey," the last person was like, "Don't let anybody go there. I'll buy it right now." And then I was like, "Holy smokes!" Like I sold this while I was doing the rowing machine. I remember, so I was like, it was kind of bad. Like I was checking my phone and trying to row at the same time. But anyway, so that was that, and that's sort of how I got into land. And then I came from sort of a digital background, had some experience in digital marketing, was working on a content education platform before all of this with my wife in the beauty industry. So completely,
Nice.
totally different area. I was in the world of Japanese nail art, believe it or not. We built one of the biggest education platform, had some of the top nail artists in Japan teaching on that platform. This was before school came out, Teachable, none of that stuff. We had to build that from scratch. And so, anyways, I transitioned into this. And then, yeah, some people asked me about how I got my deals, and they came through our website, a website I quickly put up. And then I was in a little mastermind group that the community I was part of put us into. And a few of the people have said, "Hey, can you help me with my website?" And I just decided to go on the website, give them some quick feedback. And I realized this is sort of a need. So, started building out a small little agency to help with websites on land investors and house flippers as well. And then a year in, I started running a podcast called, I don't even know what it was called. I think it was like REI Conversion Podcast. I don't know what I was doing at that time. I was just trying to throw things left and right and see what would actually stick. And so I did that for about, a good 10 months. And then I ran into Kevin, my co-founder now, who started building, an early version of what Pebble was. I think it only did mailing at a very basic level and no editor or anything. I don't even remember now at this point. And I reached out to him like, "Hey, Kevin, like we should work on this together." And he was like, "What? Okay." So that was the start of COVID, and he was in South Korea. I was in Canada. We had some pretty strict lockdown going on, and
Mm-hmm.
we we decided. I think we sort of approached this the right way in terms of a partnership, was to just try this out as a project instead of trying to commit fully into a relationship. And that's what, partnerships. If you're stepping into a partnership,
Yeah,
it's
it's a
it's
big
almost like
deal.
it is. It's almost like a marriage. And at
Hmm.
that point, we were like, okay, well, why don't we work on this? And if by December we see there's a profit X amount, we can continue. Otherwise, we can part ways. And so we started that in spring of 2020, launched in August of 2020, and then we were off to the races pretty early on. And luckily enough, it's by sheer luck. Kevin and I just get along really, really well. He was working, when I'm sleeping, and when he's sleeping, I'm working. It was the weirdest thing, at that time. You can only walk around your block. It was pretty strict here, and in Korea, it was pretty ridiculous too. I remember when I got up in the morning times, we'd Zoom, and he has like the Seoul city skyline behind him.
That's
He's right
badass.
along the river there. And I remember some funny things. He's like, "Yeah, you see this building? This is," I don't know if you remember a group called BTS. They were really big in Korea. It was like a
Hmm.
boy K-pop group. He's like, "Yeah, that's where they practice. And that's like where I grew up." I was like, this is wild. I'm in my basement. You're in Korea. And we launched, and we had no idea what we were doing. And that was it.
So the first version of it was just a mail sending like version,
Yeah,
and
it
then what
was
was the
sort of.
first thing you added?
Yeah, I think we could upload properties, and we could do mailing. He was using it for his own business at that point.
Hmm.
And then so the first thing we started to do was brand this thing. We had to build out an editor for mailers because there was no sort of, user experience whatsoever. This is
Uh-huh.
for Kevin. So that was a hard thing. We both didn't come from a customer user standpoint. Like, I didn't even know the word, I barely knew UX and UI and all this stuff. And lucky Kevin had some experience with that. So that was it. I mean, figuring out how to have a user flow in there. I started
Mm-hmm.
like eating up books on software as a service, on user experiences, and on the branding end, I had a bit of branding background, so I put that together, and we were working on marketing, and I was sort of left with the marketing and branding, and then the sales side, having conversations like this. I was
Yeah.
so nervous. It's just I had no idea how to do a sales call or a demo call. What do I walk them through the platform? So
Right.
there was just so much to learn. But in terms of feature, yeah, I think it started with sort of allowing to have a bit of a user flow in there, be able to have property fields in there, so you can sort of add your information to a property record. And I think this is where like we set Pebble up in a really good position. Like fundamentally, if you look at any CRM, if you're using something like, Pipedrive, HubSpot, even something like Trello to, high level, they're really based around contacts and leads. And that's
Right.
great, but it doesn't sort of lead into the flexibility of land. And
Mm-hmm.
so Pebble was like a property first CRM. We didn't realize it when we were building it, but we built everything around the property record. And so like if you look at the land sort of land flipping cycle, it's like, yeah, you're gonna buy land, you may do something with it and you might offload it. But as soon as you acquire that land, you don't care about that person anymore. You care about that property. And when you're
Right.
doing entitlements or subdividing, you want to track for that. You want to do some project management. It's against the property record. When you're offloading, you have multiple people wanting to get on or acquire that property. So it is sort of like this whole property first, and we sort of built the whole platform around that.
Yeah, and a lot of people at the time, me included, were trying to make Follow Up Boss do
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because Follow Up Boss, you could have cards and
yeah,
tags,
yeah,
and I mean, it was pretty good for what it was. But man,
yeah,
talk about expensive. I mean, we had at one point with all the different users in our company, we were paying $500 a month just for Follow Up Boss, and it
yeah,
was only kind of what we needed it to
yeah,
be.
right,
And you had to use a lot of Zapier. You were custom engineering it. So like in order to make it do what you wanted, you had to be kind of a software engineer yourself, or at least some sort of automator. And it was fun to kind of geek out on, but ultimately
yes,
it was taking you out of the business. It was taking you away from doing land, and it made
yeah.
you something else.
Kevin and I are both low key fans of a bunch of software like Follow Up Boss and
Yeah.
Trello. Trello is like just
Trello's sick.
wizardry. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know how old that platform is, but it's like, holy smokes, that thing just works. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, you bring up a really good point. A lot of people were, I think, because we all come from this entrepreneurial background where we like to do things and get our hand in there. A lot of people get distracted building out their own Podio or their own Zaps
Yep.
and all this, and so it's like, okay, well, where's your time, well spent? Is it actually, listen, troubleshooting Zapier alone can take many hours. And then like as soon as something updates, it's like, man, you're gonna pull your hair out. And I knew this from working, from building a business in the beauty industry. I remember to
Yep.
build out these apps to do all these things, especially back then. We didn't have as much, systems. And so yeah, it's like, okay, well, where's your time being well spent? Are you gonna build out your own thing with something like Podio, high level, or something like Follow Up Boss? Or are we here to focus on land and get some land deals done? So
Right. And
yeah,
that mixed with, I guess, how early on did you come out with your website template? Because I was an early adopter for your website template.
I
I
think that
forgot
was
if it had a
back in
specific name.
2019. Yeah, the REI land list or REI
That's
land
right.
leads. Yeah, I think that was back in 2019. And yeah, we're just trying to figure out a bunch of stuff back then. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because what made a lot of sense to me is a lot of people that are attracted to our space are older in years, right? And there's kind of, it falls into two camps. Like the new land investor is either somebody who's starting with money or someone who's not starting with money. And if you're starting with money, I always suggested services like yours where like just go to somebody who already put it together.
Right.
Go to somebody who already has the integration. And this is what you ultimately did, right? Is you had a CRM that was integrated with your website, then you
Yeah.
integrated it with mailing. And where's it at now? I mean, what does it look like now?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're sort of augmenting like everybody's workflow here. That's what sort of this software is all about. It's really just augmenting and streamlining everything. But today, I mean, it's funny. We had a retreat last year with the team up here in Canada. We flew everybody out here, and Kevin pulled out some like, oh my gosh, I forgot what that site is, but it can take a snapshot of your old sites. And he had
Mm.
some old stuff that he loaded up to show the team. It was just holy smokes, a little embarrassing at that time. But yeah, I mean, like 5 years later, we're a full-on platform. You can, you know, do your marketing. So tracking marketing is a big thing for us. Whether you're doing cold calling or texting or mailing through us or another mail house, we
Mhm.
want to make sure you understand how you're performing with your marketing, because that again, that's your biggest spend. And then managing your leads now. So we never had this notion of managing leads or deals, and so back then again, it was again a more of a database system and a mailing platform. Now you've got a full-on inbox, sort of the way that Follow Up Boss has it, where you
Oh,
have a
nice.
centralized inbox, everything comes into there. Then you manage everything on your deal board. We've got action plans now. You can automate your follow-ups, whether they're texting, email, phone reminders, to now even like auto sending out mailers. So, 6 months down the road, I want to hit them with an increased offer on a mailing. And then another 3 months later, I want to, send that. And that's sort of all built in. We've got our mobile app now. And as of recording, I know a lot of you are like, Jesse, get out the Android app. I know we're on iOS right now. It's written in this quarter. So it is going to be launching, but yeah, tons of stuff. We got a whole mapping system. So, even things like Land ID, a lot of people, we saw a lot of people were going to Land ID, taking the snapshot of it, then bringing the link back into Pebble. And so it's clickable. So you can view it on Land ID
Yep.
when they're just sort of doing their basic research, which is like flood zones, wetlands, road access, elevation, measuring, subdividing. You can do that all inside of Pebble now. So, again, we're really focused on servicing people who are working with land. Yeah, a ton more. I mean, this quarter we've got a lot of exciting stuff. We haven't announced this, and like Kevin would kill me if he heard this. That I'm going to talk about it, like what we have. So, like one of the things about running this business, it's like it's like we're not a venture backed company where you
Yeah.
have this 1 year roadmap you can announce, and typically those roadmaps are always delayed. So we do work by the quarter, and we do have a general sense of the direction of where we're going and where we want to see the company in a year to 3 years. But in terms of like immediate features, yeah, we're revamping our some of our KPIs and metrics inside of there. There's a lot of stuff in there already. Some are filters. There's some inbox stuff that we're working on. There's another project that is sort of more of a networking thing within the platform I'm really excited about. I can't really announce that yet, but that's really going to take advantage of the community that we have inside of Pebble. So really excited about some of these things that we're working on.
Badass. Now, I like to hear kind of like the hardest moments in a company and development. So, if you could highlight one of the worst moments in the progress you've made from beginning to now, what was that?
Man, I've got a personal hard moment. Was like I work in this basement. My office is at my parents' place in Vancouver. So I come to their house to work, and I've got this window right here in front of me. And my kid would come every day in the morning when he was starting Montessori and just wave bye to me. And it was
Oh.
really heartbreaking. I'm like, man, I'm not like, this is crazy. I'm waking up. I don't even brush my teeth. Like, it's just gross. Like, I would roll out of bed, start answering tickets. Because me and Kevin, that's it.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, we need to figure out how to grow this. Like, how do we scale? Like, we were like, just launched 6 months in. It was really exciting, but it's like, this is not scalable. Like, how do I build a business out of this? And that was really eye-opening for me. It was like, how do I how do we build processes in our business? How do we hire people? I don't know how to build a team. Like we're two people trying to dick around and make something right now. And so it really got us to think about, okay, how do we build processes? How do we hire people? And that was a pretty low for us. And that actually inspired a lot of what we're doing now with what we're calling like the Dirt Hacker Challenge. It's just like, okay, you've proven how land works. You've done a few deals, but like, how do you get things in order? I mean, it's great. There's a lot of resources out there, but how do we streamline things? How do we, hire people? How do we document things? Like, this is one of like the nastiest thing as a business owner. Like, how do you
Yeah.
document your process? Like, do you even need to do it? I'm one of those people that's just like, I hate that part
Yeah.
of the business. So like, how do I get rid of that? So that was pretty like early on, pretty gruesome. Hiring people and firing people is probably like the worst. I don't know. Like maybe I'm a bit of a
Learning to rely on people is brutal, and then being let
yeah.
down by people is brutal.
Oh
So yeah, dude,
yeah.
it's like setting yourself up for all sorts of terrible emotions.
Uh, so setting expectations like was really hard for me. I'm sort of conflict avoidance kind of personality, and
Mm.
that's really hard for me to like flex my muscle as to like holding people accountable and then letting go of people. I mean, I just did so recently and it was really tough. I hate those conversations. One trick for all you guys out there, if you have ChatGPT,
Yeah.
use the advanced voice mode and just get it to grill you and resist like and run through and role play firing. Like I do this now and I'm getting more and more used to it. There is a point where we try to take our time with hiring and fire, pretty quickly if we have to. And so that was tough, building a team and getting processes in place. And I think this is quite relatable for some of you guys there that are, looking to scale up your land business. So
Yeah,
that was pretty tough.
I think that's actually a common divide in our industry right now.
Yeah.
Is like, I guess maybe 2 years ago when things were real sweet, everybody was like, scale, scale, scale. Like everything
Yeah.
was about scaling your business and hiring and delegating and these
Yeah.
VAs or go to hiremymom.com. Like it's what everybody was focused on. And then I
Yeah.
think like almost all of us hit the same inflection point where it's like, okay, either I am the sort of person that's good at managing teams or I hate it.
Yeah.
And I was one where I'm like, I don't really like it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, and you kind of don't need a big team in our industry. Like
Yeah.
you can have a big team and do hundreds of deals, or you can have a very, very small team and do 5 big ticket deals in a year
Yeah.
and make the
Agreed.
same income. So I
Yeah.
got to that point where I was like, I'm not good at it. I hate it. I'm really good at managing teams in person,
Yeah.
but over the internet, I
Yeah.
just can't. It's not the same thing. So I said,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to do it. I walked away from it. I let everybody go. We shrunk
Yeah.
the business and that's how we like it.
And that's sort of similar how we see Pebble. Like we sort of have this ideal size we want to keep it at. Like I enjoy running a business at this size. We're at
Yeah.
about 12, 14 people on it, and that's like large enough. Like I heard at a certain point, I think it's about that 12 mark, things start getting a little trickier. But yeah, and I think that's one thing you might have talked about on our podcast, Logan, was just like you were so clear on where you wanted, like where you were happy at running a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important. I think like, yeah, perhaps a lot of people got caught up on saying like, got to scale, 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 hire, hire, hire. And they realize maybe this isn't what I want to do. Maybe this isn't what I enjoy.
Or
And I
just
think
not good at it.
or not good at it. Yeah. Which,
Yeah.
which comes down to partially you don't enjoy doing
Yeah.
it.
True.
And so like, it's so important to not get caught up in some of these. I mean, even like the content I release, I always say like there's no one way to run this business. It's like figure out what you enjoy, what you like, and what you're good at, and go with that, and be true to yourself when running a business. So as sort of woo woo as that sounds, I think it's very, very true. And that again, that came back to the same with our business as well.
Well, you mentioned that there's a couple like Follow Up Boss and Twilio that you think are not Twilio businesses that you really admire.
Yeah.
Do you model your company or your strategies after any of the big tech companies right now, or I guess maybe even middle-sized ones? Like what comes to my mind is when I was building systems and building my marketing company and all this sort of stuff, I really admired Jotforms. Jotforms was
Oh
always
yeah.
dropping cool new stuff. They were sending
Yes.
like they would explain the metrics in their business and why they were making
Yes.
certain decisions. All that stuff was really cool to me. So are there any ones that you geek out over?
Yeah, I don't think like I geek out from a technical standpoint, but as a business owner, oh gosh, I forgot the owner's name, but Set 37 Signals is the company that owns Basecamp. And Basecamp is a project management platform. I used it back in when I used to be a graphic designer, and it's very simple. But what I really like about Basecamp and the way that they run their business is that it's a little bit sort of contrarian. They don't know what they're going to be doing, a year later, and everything. They don't look for funding, and they sort of have a very small community of dedicated people and users and teams. And I just sort of really appreciate the way that they sort of go about their business. But a big thing here is like one thing that we found really challenging is like where like we were kept being asked, where are you going to see yourself if like 5 years from now? And I think it's great to have these sort of BHAGs, these big, hairy, audacious goals, but it's like, I don't know, I didn't find so much joy planning so far ahead. And I was, I just, I don't know. I'm just one of those people who just like, okay, what is the vision in a year from now? And there is a lot of changes, and I'm glad we sort of operate very nimbly in that way.
Mm.
And I think you might see the way that Kevin and I are. We're sort of really in tune with our users, and we go live. We're a very small community of people, and we kind of kept that going. All our team members all talk to people with our users or not users, and we sort of have this very, I don't want to say boutique feel, but it almost is like that. Boutique's a wrong word. I don't know what it is.
I mean, I
But
think that's appropriate. Like I like nimble.
yeah,
You're small enough where you can listen and change. And
yeah,
that for a niche
yeah.
audience, a smaller target base, I mean, that's what you need, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we enjoy, and we enjoy sort of being in that position. So, yeah, there's always a bunch of other companies that I personally look up to, but when it comes to the tech, I can't really speak on that. Kevin, my co-founder, again, the technical guy, he would be able to speak on that. He's given me, when we go on long drives, he's told me a lot of stuff, which is super interesting. But as a business and maybe on the tech side, I really look up to something like 37 Signals and. I might be pushing some buttons here, but I respect Elon from a business owner and guy who just completely reinvents himself over and over.
Hmm.
I won't get into anything hairy on that side, but I do look up to him quite a bit in the way that he runs his businesses. So yeah, those are some of the people.
For sure. Well, cool. Two more questions. One, you briefly mentioned ChatGPT. We're in the AI age. Is there anything cool AI related that's sneaking into Pebble that you're able to talk about yet?
Yeah, for sure. I think again, being a small company has allowed us to really, really come down to like what. So the way that Pebble approaches building software is unlike a lot of, these big venture-backed companies where they're thrown millions of dollars and it's like build whatever the F.
Hmm.
And they deplete their funds and 1 out of 10 of these companies will make it. And so Kevin and I have to be very, very careful as to what we build and very, very cognizant. I mean, when the AI rush came, I know when the ChatGPT moment came, it was like a year, 2 years ago, I forget now. It was like everybody started changing, AI everything, AI this, AI, like it was just a bandwagon of AI and you would slap it on. Now I heard it worked. I heard a lot of companies did experience a bump in sales as soon as they mentioned the word AI.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we really think about, is this going to add value? I mean, we've been asked a lot of stuff left and right. Can you do this? Can you do that? And a lot of stuff we saw very short term. This isn't going to work long term. And we're coming to the point where it's like, okay, we've been actually in the background toying with stuff. It was actually pretty cool stuff. We had some stuff that was built in, Kevin would go on these spikes where he would just hunker out himself and try and build something out. And it was really, really cool. But and ultimately, like, is this going to be useful for our users? So we are working on some pretty cool stuff, but I think like it's really important to start familiarizing yourself. You've probably heard it before. Like there's going to be this great divide, like business owner who uses AI and who doesn't. And so, maybe get on some newsletter lists. There's some great ones out there. I typically, read the Rundown AI every morning. They sort of brief me on stuff. But, I think this whole agents is really going to be interesting. How is this going to play out? I'm not sure, but this is already becoming a thing. You're seeing agents that are going to be doing the small task. And then eventually now you've got agents that are going to be able to navigate through a user interface on your browser. And this is where we're really thinking heavily on, like, if you're trying to hodgepodge a system yourself and you understand, oh, but I have to do this to make this happen, or this means this, will an agent be able to successfully navigate that? And so this is why, everything we do, it's like, how can we make this more elegant? How can we make, it's not about features for us. It's like, how do we continue to smooth things out? There's a lot of items on our list here that we want to smooth out in terms of like the user flow, because we see agents being able to come in to use this platform. Now, also, like, how do we build out our own custom agents to do certain things? That'll be very interesting. And so we're continuing to explore that. But yeah, I would say, from the AI side of things, make sure you stay on top of it, because it'll be great. I think it'll be great. I'm really optimistic about it.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of one of those things where AI inherently makes itself more accessible as it develops. So, where even 6 months ago, if you would have spent a bunch of time putting together something, it's almost already just replaced just by whatever the new ChatGPT that came out. Or,
exactly.
So many people were spending a bunch of time creating AI image generators, and then the new ChatGPT release just beats it,
Yeah.
And people are like trying to hodgepodge craft agents right now. And it's kind of like you can work really hard to be about 6 months ahead. And if you're really smart, you can leverage that and be profitable.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with you. It's like best to be up to date and understanding and use it in ways that's valuable. Like one thing we're talking about doing is just uploading all the subdivision regulations for counties and things like that to make it easily searchable. I mean, there's a lot of useful stuff for it, but you don't want everybody out there trying to like reinvent AI systems. You're not going to be successful. It's going to be another side project that's detracting you from. But what I think is really cool is ultimately what I think we're going to see a spike of is the value of regular interactions. It's going to be like when I started my business, the reason we were successful is because I was great on phones.
Yeah.
Now is the time to be great on phones, because everybody's going to be inundated with fake messages and AI generated this, AI phone calls, all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
So you can just be a regular person that knows how to relate to individuals, and you're probably going to find a lot of success over the next couple of years.
I think there's just going to be a lot more value put on like humans related stuff. I think there's going to be whether it comes down to art, to interactions, I think people are just going to find that even more and more valuable. And AI just simply will not replace a human. Like, I mean, sure, certain trivial things, yes, and certain things, yes, but at the end of the day, relationship building, you can't. Like, it's soulless. I mean, as much as I like talking to, ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, it's like it's soulless at the end of the day. They don't give me opinions. They don't give me thoughts. They don't, so I think you're right, Logan. I'm with you on that.
Cool. Well, we're at kind of the top of the hour here. Folks, I can't stress it enough. I mean, Jessey's been around a while. He's got a great system. I've used it in the past. And if you're new to this industry, or I mean, really established and just trying to stop piecing together your business with all these different platforms and automations and Zapier, and you want one centralized location where you can do the entire business, you got the spot right here. So where can they find you? I know you mentioned your podcast already. What's the website for Pebble?
Yeah, pebblerei.com. You can come through there, hop on a call. We've got weekly sessions if you want to jump in one of our weekly sessions under sort of resources and training, and you can jump in and ask questions. There's also, you can hop on a call with Scott on my team there. He can give you a demo of things and show you around, answer questions, But yeah, we're around. YouTube is another place we try to be around on. But yeah, we're around. Find us.
Awesome. Jessey, thank you again for your time. It was a real pleasure having you on. We'll have to bring you back when you have some new sick updates to the service.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on, and thanks everybody for listening.
Cool. All right, folks. Remember, if you need funding, go to landpartnerfunding.com. If you're looking to buy land, go to primelandexchange.com. And if you just want to talk to me, you can email me at thelandfixer@gmail.com. Folks, we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.